Okay, let's call this meeting to order, the Tuttle Truckee Sanitation Agency for June 12, 2019 at 9 a.m. Let the record reflect that 4 out of the 5 board members here and 1 director will be here in about 10 minutes. So let's have a Pledge of Allegiance. Director Cox, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Director Peets, will you help with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I didn't want to hog all the glory, Mike.
Okay. And let the record reflect Dan Wilkins will be here, just be about 10 minutes late, and he said we should start without him, so.
Well, there's 100 line cars on 89 north of Cabin Creek.
Yep.
But they're working on the roads, they're doing crossings for culvert.
Okay. All right, we have public comment. Any person wishing to address items not listed elsewhere on the agenda may do so at this time. Okay, we'll close the public comment section and go to item 3, professional achievement awards and anniversaries.
Good morning, President Lewis and directors. Vicky Lufrano for the record, HR administrator. Just wanted to acknowledge some employees for their anniversary achievements. Have a couple of employees on that list. We have, and if you please stand so that the board may acknowledge you. I have Scott Fleming. Scott is an engineer with us, and he is having his 1-year anniversary. Congratulations, Scott. And Zeb Snyder. Zeb is a mechanic with us, and he is celebrating his 5-year anniversary. So great year, Zeb.
That's it?
That's it.
Always the strength of the agency is are the employees here, and we just want to commend you always for your hard work and dedication to this agency. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to consent calendar. We have item 4. We have 3 items. Any person wish to address any item separately or remove them from the consent calendar? Hearing none, do I have approval for the consent calendar?
So moved.
I'll second.
Director Cox makes a motion, Director Northrup seconds it. Any further discussion, board? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So let's go on to item 5, public hearing for public comment related to board consideration of adopted resolution of the board adopting resolution 2019-20 tax roll billing report and approval billing and collection of charges on county tax roll. Mr. Vez?
Good morning, gentlemen. Michelle Chavez, Administrative Services Manager. And this section is for the public hearing, just as it states, regarding the adoption of resolution, should have that in front of me.
2019-20.
2019. And I have attached to the statement any correspondence that was sent to us via regular mail or to our customer service email account that were regarding either response, whether positive, pro, or con for this agenda item. So if you have any questions other than that, request your consideration for approval.
Okay, we have written responses here. Any public response as far as telephone calls back or anything regarding this?
We've had a few people that were still confused about TSD and TTSA, saying I already paid this on my tax roll and what have you. So we just explain the difference. We've had people on both sides, but from a majority of the public, it has been positive.
Okay. Board?
No comment.
Comment?
No public.
The only negative that I've heard from talking to individuals is the increase on their impound account as far as, and that's been consistent with the negative response. You know, But it seems to be outweighed with the positive responses as far as in ease and saving the district money in efficiencies as far as tax collection goes, so.
Now, once again, Rochelle, we heard a few months ago that the total savings on this transition is about 190,000.
Yes. I have to pull pull the report again for the exact numbers, but that was our estimate based on hard costs and employee
Time.
salaries for the time it takes to actually.
That's a lot of
process.
dough.
It is. Quite significant.
And that's after the cost of the county collection charges?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are some changes to those additional county collection costs from what we paid to what we will pay now, because Placer County charges 1% of the overall value that we're sending. But it's still significantly lower than the $190,000 for our overall costs. The first year, there is going to be transition, of course, but we will still be in the positive as far as costs.
So we get a charge 1% from Placer County, 1% from El Dorado, and 1% from Nevada County?
No.
No.
So we are charged Placer County 1% of the overall total dollar value. Both Nevada and El Dorado charge a flat administration fee plus a fee per parcel. And Nevada and El Dorado are the smaller of the counties that we have our parcels.
Can you tell me, Rochelle, just if you can, what the total cost is to have, to us, and what the counties are charging us to administrate this?
Yes, actually, I think I have that on the.
If it's not a problem.
So for this, this is just for the public hearing section, but that's the information I have for that. But the detail that you're asking about is in the next agenda item. So for all the other resolutions that we're adding, if you look at the physical impact for item 2 through 4, it shows the physical impact for the cost for those. So for Placer County, the estimate right now for the current parcels are $48,109. So that's 1% of the $4,810,000. And then for the next, Nevada County, it's a $200 flat administrative rate plus 50 cents per parcel for $5,535. And then for El Dorado, it's a $150 flat fee plus 73 cents per parcel for $1,469. So all of those fees, even though they're higher than what they were for just delinquencies, it's still, at the estimate of $56,000, it's still significantly lower with less staff time that's going to be needed to process the invoices, both incoming and outgoing, and customer,
So our net gain on that's about 125,000?
It's a rough estimate.
Yeah.
We can get more actual totals for you, probably next year, once we know exactly how much time we spent with the conversion for staff time. Our fees will be the hard fees that they are once we submit our final numbers. I did provide you with an update, so there was a very small difference between what was provided to you with the board packet to what our actual totals were yesterday, only a difference of a little over $3,000. So we update them and add or remove accounts as new accounts come in or properties are sold and they're paid by the title companies. We remove them so that they are not charged an additional fee by accident.
Okay.
Okay. Also, with regards to, we close the public hearing, we approve it today, when would it establish? Are we talking the next tax period?
this upcoming tax season.
Okay.
So we will submit our reports, our final reports July. They're due by the end of August, but we will submit them in July. And they go to they will come out in the fall with the tax bills that are sent out to individual accounts.
And it's still available for, say, a person that had a triple net lease, that they, I know the owner is always responsible for the fee paid, but they can also petition to have that tenant pay the lease also. Is that correct?
No, it is
Okay.
paid to the tax bill, so whoever's responsible to that tax bill pays it. But if you mean like for
Commercial?
some commercial was pulled, some of the easier accounts are being processed, but most commercial are not being put on the tax roll this year. But as for timeshares or, fractional ownership properties, those are not going to the tax roll this year. So we can work with the HOAs that are in charge of those accounts to work out the totals for them next year so they can build that into their regular billing.
Okay. Okay. Any further comment on this action? Well, anybody public, it's public hearing with regards to this? Hearing no public, we'll close the public hearing on item 1 and go to item 2, approve resolution 3-2019, adopting tax roll billing and report and approving billing and charges for Placer County tax roll.
Also move.
Director Trustin makes the motion.
I'll second.
Director Northrup seconds it. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 3, approval of resolution number 4, 2019, adopting 2019-20 tax roll billing report for County of Nevada tax roll.
So move. Second.
Director Trustin makes the motion. Director Cox seconds the motion. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 4, approval of resolution number 5-2019, adopting 2019-20 tax roll billing report for El Dorado County tax roll.
Also move. Second.
Director Trustin makes the motion. Director Cox seconds it. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That is complete. We will now be billing on the tax rolls. Okay, let's go to item 5 here, discussion and update of classification and compensation study. Vicki Lefano?
Good morning again. Vicki Lufrano, HR Administrator. So as we're all aware, back in September of 2018, the board approved the agency to have a compensation and classification study performed by a consultant, which was Rice Consulting, and we've had Shelley Anderson here, the consultant, several times to give us updates on the status of the study. Shelley is on vacation, so she was not able to attend the board meeting today, but I'm going to give an update as of today.
He's working, Rochelle.
Okay, so first, an update on the classification portion of this study. We have several pieces that are currently completed, and I'll just list off those items that are completed. That was the employee orientation, department manager interviews. Employees have completed their position inventory questionnaires, or PIQs. Employee interviews have occurred. The development of the classification plan structure has also occurred. Review of that classification plan structure has occurred with the agency. draft job descriptions were prepared, and there was a review of those job descriptions with the agency, as well as the employees have gone through their review process. So at this point, Shelley is currently conducting the employee review process. So she has met with employees at this point. She has taken in any comments and concerns that employees had via a written format. She has met with any employees that she felt needed additional information from them. And she is preparing any of those changes for the employees. Anyone that submitted any kind of questions on through this process will receive a written notification from her, and it will either let them know, this concern was accepted or this concern was denied. I don't know how she'll word it, but something to that effect, where she does communicate back to all employees regarding any of their concerns in that process. She's also in the process of conducting the FLSA analysis, and eventually she will finalize the classification study, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Regarding the compensation portion of the study, the completed portions have been review and recommend compensation survey parameters, review compensation survey parameters with the agency, finalize compensation parameters, contact survey employers and prepare information packet, collect and analyze salary survey data, and review preliminary survey results with the agency. So all of that has been completed at this point, and we're in the she's in the process of following up that data collection. So I think she did most of the data collection prior to now, but based on any of those changes that employees had requested, if anything else changed with the job and she had to go back to the market, that's what she's doing right now. Prepare preliminary salary plan and internal relationship analysis. She's in the process of doing that right now. This is not a piece that we've seen at all, so we have no data on that at this point, but she's doing it in the background. Review and revise the salary plan with the agency and prepare and present the final report, and again, we'll talk about that next. So the anticipated next steps include the next two Board of Directors meetings. So at the July Board of Directors meeting, she will present the final job descriptions to the Board of Directors. And as a side note for the employees, because this part was unknown to me until just recently, employees will see their job descriptions again with the accepted and or proposed changes with the edits listed on the job description. Again, not all comments will necessarily be accepted, but the ones that were reasonable and made sense will be accepted, and Shelley will communicate all of those changes or rejected changes to all employees. She will also present the draft compensation data to the board. She will seek direction on the labor market position, whether it's the mean, median, or some other percentile. We've talked about that a lot, so you guys know that's coming. And then seek direction on the labor market agencies. And then at the August Board of Directors meeting, she will present the salary recommendations on the final report. Any questions on any of that?
Yeah. How did we do in the median? I mean, are we way off, or are we close, or are we above or below?
That information at this point is all preliminary, so I wouldn't feel comfortable commenting on anything like that at this point.
Board, any other comment with regards to this? Just that the employees have the adequate time and make sure there could be some back and forth, and if at all a situation with the response and stuff with the employees, that they have that opportunity and the time to make sure that their requests and information is getting back to them so they're properly notified.
Yes, we actually made sure that we received the comments back from every employee. So whether they had multiple comments or no comments, we made sure that we received something back from everybody. And that did include extending that deadline that had been set for probably a handful of employees.
Good. Okay. Director Cox.
Have you had any dialogue, Vicki, with Shelley in regards to the format of how this, this study is going to be laid out for the board? Is there going to be a median line, which would be 50%, would be the 50 percentile of all the surveys done on all the agencies that we conducted a survey, and then have a line with the TTSA's compensation is in comparison, whether it falls above the line or below the line? Has she given you any indication of how the format is going to be laid out, or is it just going to be a bunch of numbers?
Well, I guess I would say at this point, we do have preliminary data. Again, I'm not comfortable talking about
Okay.
any of that because it is all just in draft format at this point. But the way it is laid out is she does have it in sections, so there is a mean section, a median section. There are also sections for mean, classic, mean, PEPRA, median, classic, median, PEPRA. And then there will be probably another percentile that she'll include in there. But that's based on, I believe that's going to be based on a guess that she'll include. And I'm not positive about that part, but I believe so.
And when would that information, according to the schedule, when is that going to be brought to the board?
July.
July.
You will see that data in July,
Next month?
yes.
Okay, Director Tresson.
And just, I mean, I'm pretty sure when she came a couple times before, she gave us actually the format we were gonna see it. It was gonna be, for each benchmark position in the agency, it was gonna show all the comparators and where TTSA lined up, and she was gonna have compensation, just salary, and then there was gonna be, you know, a series of other columns that looked at the various benefits and their financial implications, and then she was going to give a ranking, you know, both, you know, percentile perhaps, as well as difference from median or mean for the TTSA position compared to the comparator agencies for both compensation as well as compensation and benefits.
Okay.
And that's, I recall her sharing that, and so that's the way the data should come. It's a pretty wide table with
Right.
with all that information, and so.
Well, there was a lot of numbers, and a lot of times numbers could be very confusing, for me anyway. And to sit back and have a graph saying, here we are at TTSA, here's where we lie with the rest of the agencies that's been surveyed, that's a great help for me. And probably it would be a great help for a lot of the employees that are tracking this. It'd be a little bit more user-friendly, so to speak. But we'll wait and see what happens next month and how
I think
it's laid out.
one of the things, if possible, depending on when it gets done, if we can have it, maybe a separate packet a little bit before the Friday packet that goes out, so we have longer to digest this information, so we have, if there's any different items to come forward, we have the availability to thoroughly go through it.
I'll make note for that.
Okay.
I
We don't.
do know she's
Okay.
on vacation and she's
Right.
out of the country right now, so, but I'll make note and ask that.
Okay. Any other questions with regards to the report? Director Cox.
One final comment here. I know that there was a few months ago when we were discussing this and the format that was going to be laid out, one of the concerns was the cost of living that we have here in Tahoe, and what the extra amounts of money and cost of living that's associated with walking out your door in a 5-foot snowstorm, and what it means to our employees financially to be able to get to work. Whereas some of the other agencies that's surveyed, they don't get that kind of a weather beating, so to speak. Now, is there going to be any kind of comparisons made between Tahoe lifestyle, 4-wheel drive, I mean, all the clothing and extra things that we have to have as employees and people that live here as compared to the other agencies off the hill that have far less impacts from the weather. Did she mention anything that she was going to address that? Because as I remember, there was one or two employees that made this comment, and I wanted to make sure that it was addressed in her final draft.
I don't believe that there's any kind of offset necessarily for specifically living in this area. However, I believe the comparable agencies that were chosen will help alleviate any kind of offset like that. And again, you know, some will be, you know, really high, some will be lower, and somewhere in between is that data that we're going to be getting. And I think all of that helps compensate for that that piece of the puzzle that you're asking about.
Okay.
Director Tresson.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, she came with a list of recommended comparator agencies, and most of those agencies are Tahoe mountain agencies, and so there really isn't apples to apples there. And then staff had come with a recommendation of a number of other agencies. They tended to be Central Valley and Bay Area agencies, and while they don't have the kind of mountain lifestyle we have, they maybe have even more extreme kind of housing costs and kind of the cost of living in that area. And if I recall, the data was going to come, not only were we going to see the comparison for each benchmark position versus the comparator agencies, it was going to be done first against her initial list of comparator agencies, and then secondly, I think with those plus the addition of the comparator agencies that staff had recommended. And so, you know, it should, you've got a real valid point, Dale, but I think we'll be able to see how that plays out. And she indicated there was some way of looking at cost of living or something like that, but I've never seen a real good metric for doing that. But I'm hoping that it'll be clear when we see the data, you know, the impact of mountain living versus non-mountain living.
Okay.
That helped.
All right. All right. Any further questions? Look forward to the report next month. Okay. Thank you, Vicki.
Thanks.
Okay. With that, let's go on to item 6. Approval to award bids for procurement of hydrated lime, liquid chlorine, liquid oxygen, methanol, and ferric chloride.
I have a question.
Director Northrup.
They don't show what it was the previous year. Is there any way to get that?
Yes. So good morning, Board. President Lewis, Michael Peak, Operations Manager. Today we're going to request approval to award bids for the procurement of hydrated lime, liquid chlorine, liquid oxygen, methanol, and ferric chloride. The agency has solicited bids for the purchase of hydrated lime, liquid chlorine, liquid oxygen, methanol, and ferric chloride for the upcoming 2019-2020 fiscal year. The breakdown of submitted bids are bids per chemical is shown below. The lowest responsive bidder is indicated by the asterisks next to the bidder name per chemical. The fiscal impact, the impact shall be dependent on quantities purchased per chemical, and we have no attachments. And the recommendation of staff, management and staff recommendations is approval to award bids of the procurement of hydrated lime, liquid chlorine, liquid oxygen, methanol, ferric chloride, and to the appropriate responsive lowest bidder. If you have any other questions, I could answer those now.
I had the same
Well,
question
yeah,
as John, in terms of how do these low bids compare to the current contract?
So I'll just go through them one at a time, and would you like to just know the differences as far as between last year and the upcoming
Yeah, what we're
years?
paying right now to what it's, what the bid amount.
So for chlorine, for the last fiscal year was $70,406. And under the new amount, the estimated cost based on the same usage would be $76,000, a difference of $5,600, about an 8% increase.
So Mike, can you just give that in, do you have the unit costs? we're looking
Yes.
at a table with unit costs, so that the liquid chlorine,
So
looks like
liquid
we're gonna-
chlorine went from $880.0725 per ton to $950 per
Okay.
ton. And again, that's gonna be about, if we use the same amount, would be about a $5,600 increase. Oxygen went from a .712 cents per gallon to .77 cents per gallon, which is about, at the same quantity, would be about $8,600, or about 8.1% increase. Ferric chloride went from $467.84 per ton to $486.04 per ton, which is going to be an estimated increase of about $856, or a 4% increase for the year. Methanol went from .518 cents per gallon to .592 cents per gallon, which is going to be about a $13,620 increase at the same usage. And lime went from 345.31 cents per ton to 357.51 per ton, which is going to be an increase of about $22,000, or an 8% increase.
What's the one
Perfect,
on the
thanks.
methanol?
Methanol
The
went
percentage
from
increase is.
basically 52 cents a gallon to about 59 cents a gallon, which was $13,620 increase at the same usage. If we use the same amount of gallons, it'd be a $13,000 increase.
And
Okay,
what
but
percent?
what's the-
14.3%.
So 8% across the board was pretty much what we're looking at, but we have an
Except-
anomaly with
except for
methanol. And if I remember, we've had even trouble getting bidders for methanol in the past.
Yes.
And Mike, the contract that we're looking at approving, they're locking these prices in for a full year at this rate?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. Okay,
great.
any further discussion? Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Director Northrick makes the motion, Director Cox seconds it. Further discussion, board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Okay,
gentlemen.
Thanks,
motion
Mike.
passes. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Okay, let's go on to item 7, approval of reject all bids for 2019 roof repair project and re-advertise for bids.
Thank you, Lane. Morning, directors. Jay Parker, engineering manager for the record. Yeah, so we went out to bid for the roof project as we solicited your approval last board meeting. We received 2 bids. One was for $445,000, but was deemed to be non-responsive. Second bid, Hobart Roofing, bid total was $849,000. And that's almost double what the engineer's estimate was. Our recommendation at this point is to reject all bids and re-advertise. We have enough time to do that between now and when the job will start.
Council, can we do that? Is that,
Yes, you may. I've consulted with engineering staff about this particular bid procurement, and there were a series of irregularities and issues with the bids, and this is a safe and prudent thing to do, is just reject both of them and have a redo since there is time.
okay. Director Wilkins.
What were the non-responsive components of the Centimark bid?
So for Centimark, we specifically in our bid instructions say that the phraseology of the bid must not be changed and no additions shall be made to items mentioned. And that unauthorized conditions, limitations, provisions may render it non-responsive and cause for its rejection. They had added some verbiage in the bid document that basically altered the conditions of the bid. And so in direct conflict with what our instruction to bidders prohibit.
What was the language?
What they said was Centimark Corporation reserves the right to negotiate in good faith the terms and conditions of any contract. So that basically opens the door for any of the terms and conditions that we list in our contract and can be construed as an unfair advantage to any other competing bidders.
If we wanted to move forward with them though and say, look, you put this language in your bid, but we're not going to change anything. You can either enter into this contract with us the way it was bid or not. Does that make it non-responsive at that point?
Well, there's complications in that the other bidder could protest because how the other bidder filled out their form, we didn't discover until after it was bid that we didn't have a total line on our bid schedule. And we'll be adding that onto a rebid if we do that. And that bidder put their total, put a value in the warranty line that they may argue represents a total. However, on face value, it represents a warranty. And so basically you're setting up potential conflict with the other bidder protesting if you were to award to this bid.
I understand that, and I've been in this situation before in my professional life, and there's a kind of a risk assessment that's made. Another bidder could protest, but they may not. And I guess what I'm trying to evaluate here is that we do have a bid that's slightly below the engineer's estimate. And at the end of the day, that bidder is willing to enter into a contract with us that's consistent with our bid documents. I'm not sure that it seems like a no harm, no foul type situation at the end of the day. And I want to make sure that we're not
In violation.
well, no, I just want to make sure that we're not being so risk averse that we're throwing out a good number and then potentially getting a worse number when we rebid it.
Right, and that's why it's been going before the board today. So, if you so choose and would like to accept that risk, then you can award, but I thought we should lay out the facts.
Okay, with regards to this, we've been dealing with the roof situations for a while. On the last repair, was there any warranty that we got on those last repairs? And, that obviously have failed?
Yeah, there was a warranty. What we ended up determining, they came up and warranted the work. Repatched some of the areas that they had done, particularly going 1353
Correct.
area. And but what we see happening is that that's going to continue to fail, and it was not a wholesale replacement of the roof.
Okay,
It was a patch job.
Correct.
It's called a Band-Aid.
Did they take care of that, or did we have to?
No, they took care of it and they warranted it. However, that's over some very critical infrastructure for us.
right.
And that contract was done, I'll say, kind of under the gun. We had about 3 weeks to get that contract out because of the emergency nature of it. So we did a Band-Aid fix, and what we're finding is that the Band-Aid is not going to provide the complete protection that we need. The way that the roof decking runs, we have these channels that run the full length of the building, and any leak at any point in that roof could translate back to where our critical infrastructure is.
Okay.
And this project will address those concerns.
Correct,
Okay.
because this project is a universal. We decided it was best to bite the bullet because of the criticality of the equipment there to re-roof the entire facility so that there's no migration of leaks.
Yeah, having our equipment under plastic, trying to save the PLCs, whatever. What about, on the RFP, what period of time do they have to,
It's a 20-year.
no, I know that, but what period of time from the time the approval of the contract do they have to start the work?
Oh, I got you, sorry.
Yeah, and then at that point, you have prioritized, obviously, I hope the ones where we're most affected with damage to our equipment.
Yeah, correct. So to answer your first question, the work is not scheduled to start until August, beginning of August.
Okay.
And with a potential rebid. We'd be rebidding, advertising this month, doing the 2 weeks mandatory pre-bid, and then bidding on just before July board meeting packet goes out
Okay.
with the evaluation of bids occurring so that we can get it in the July packet. And with it in the July packet, then we can, and if it's awarded in July, then we would go to, we would award and have them submit submittals, right away. So that we have at that point, we'll have about 3 weeks to, before they start.
So it's not affecting the start date,
It won't affect the start date.
okay, by delaying this?
No, the only thing that alters is the bid date, the advertised date, the bid dates, the award date, but the actual work window.
Okay.
It's I believe, August 3 or 4, somewhere in that time
Right.
frame.
Okay.
Up until October, that work window stays the same.
Okay.
I have a question.
Director Knight.
Is there a design flaw in the understructure?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, we have that same design throughout the facility. I think what we're seeing is a 40-year-old roof, just coming due. And on that note, we have a lot of roofing out there that's coming due, and so I think we mentioned in the past that what we'll see on the CIP in the future is future roof projects, not every year, but to address the roofs as they fail.
Yeah, it's getting away from
Top of it.
The top of it, yeah. We're not doing, we're not
patching it
recommending
more,
a
which is
full
good.
tear down.
No, you're staying on top of the roof conditions in the other building.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Director Tresson.
Yeah, I'd like to revisit Dan's, Dr. Wilkins' comments. So the risk that we take here is more one that we're going to be, there's a potential that the other bidder may contest the award of the bid to them, or is there a strong concern, Jay, LaRue, Dick, that because they've included this language, we're going to be somehow, if we awarded it to them, we're somehow going to be subject to, different conditions and, the $445,000 bid and the materials and all that are all, everything's up there. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that the level of the non-responsiveness warrants us really considering potentially moving forward with this bid. But I look to you guys to, your level of concern on.
Could you
I'd like to clarify-
negotiate with both of them?
There
No,
were
No.
other
you can't
problems.
negotiate.
No.
Yeah, let me answer that, Jim. I think the principal risk is the risk of a bid protest by Harbert Roofing. By one reading of its bid schedule, the company probably made a mistake filling out the bid schedule, and they probably intended a bid price of $424,000, but they put a number in the wrong line, which led to this $800,000 price. So if you award to Cinemark, you may hear back from Harbor Roofing that, wait a minute, I was a little bidder, I made a mistake, you really ought to waive my mistake. And that's the risk, because on that reading of the Harbor Roofing bid schedule, they may contend that we made a mistake, we intended $424, which is lower than Cinemark's $445, therefore we're the low bidder. And that's that's the risk, is that Harbor may bring that bid protest. You guys are right, is that there's a risk assessment there. What's the likelihood of a bid protest on a $400,000 job?
But they could,
Hold on.
if you rebid it, it could be the same bidders and.
It could be, but as Director Wilkins noted, it also be, now everybody's cards are on the table, so it may be a little higher.
I'd like to also have the point that the bid, there were other parts of the bid that were non-responsive, and that, they had said, please see attached for their experience.
Yeah, there was a couple other minor defects with the Cinemark bid.
So
Okay.
please see attached for experience requirements, please see attached for equipment lists, et cetera, and it lacked, there was no attached. It was, so this wasn't the only problem, but we saw this as
It's a pretty significant defect with the bid when you put that kind of conditional language in there.
So one way or another, we go out to bid, the way the bids are gonna fall, the way the analysis is gonna be of the bids, we're still gonna be able to get this work completed in the month of September? before we start seeing a
Well,
August,
change?
September.
It's not gonna affect the start date that.
Theoretically, you know, I
Theoretically,
mean, these guys
right.
are, it's a busy construction season, you know, they may have lined other stuff up, there's no guarantee. You know, we've got something in the, you know, a bird in the hand's better than two in the bush, and
Right.
so I'm just trying to understand the nature of the non-responsiveness, and I didn't catch in the first round that you were talking about this number being placed in the warranty, but Harbit potentially had a lower bid. They just did some strange math that
Double down.
ended up with a doubling in there.
Yeah, so it's.
So that's, okay, that's, so
But
Harbit's
to
bid
take-
is
but to
also,
Take it at face value, if you take the bid schedule at face value and you tally up the sums.
Right.
As entered by Harbor, its price is $849,000.
Correct. So, board, we have a issue here. Where do we want to go? Do we want to reject the bid and rebid? Hopefully, you know, the issue is possibly increased cost, but the start time should be still in place pretty much. It's not going to push that back.
I recommend we go with the staff's recommendation.
Okay? I have a motion to reject the bid as far as staff recommendation and rebid this. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Director Northrup seconds it. Do we have any further discussion?
Yeah, I just-
Director Tresson.
you know, if Harbit's bid was actually 849, I would have a hard time seeing them contest awarding the bid to Centimark for 445. But if Harbit believes their bid was actually 424, lower than that, and we awarded to 445 with potentially some non-responsive elements as part of Centimark's, that's a little bit of a different story. So I just appreciate the clarification there.
Okay?
Okay.
Any further director comments? All in favor of Director Cox's motion?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to item 8, approval of amendments to the agreement between TTSA and CH2M Hill.
Yes, so this item is for a general consulting master service agreement. For the directors that were serving in 1995, we had a master service agreement with CH2M Hill to provide on-call consulting services. That agreement has been amended throughout the years to basically keep it current and updated. And that agreement is now expired, and so what's before you today is the next amendment, which would keep it alive until 2024. And
What's Stan Smith have to say about this?
He's long gone.
Good question.
Yeah.
Probably
He's out fishing.
out fishing, golfing, and, yes, having a good time up in Bend, Oregon. So anyway, just to explain what this is it allows us to contact CH2M Health for areas in which we need assistance for structural advice, electrical advice, things that they may be more experts in certain areas than us. Also, it allows us to do task order-based contracts. The process hazard analysis that they do for us, the various design projects that they did, including expansion. It allows both task order-based contracts like those and on-call services.
Okay, Jay, obviously you were a CH2 employee,
Yeah,
doing a lot of consulting during the period of time.
correct.
We just went with Carrillo for the master plan study. How do you rate the two as far as entering into contract with Carrillo as opposed to CH2M Hill?
Well, so first, this doesn't obligate us to use CH2M Health for
Cool.
future work.
Okay.
It just leaves the door open. And with Carrillo, we don't yet know their capabilities for final design and technical advice. I mean, we're getting a very good flavor for them for master planning.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, they've been in the field for, established consulting firm for, a very long time. And they probably have good consulting advice as well on the other fronts. But Right now, we have established relationships with CH that if we need structural advice, we know exactly who to call and we've been getting good advice. So
This is just the
it doesn't obligate
standing,
us.
this, yeah, what you're saying, this is just the standard order, you know, if you so choose, you may not do
Correct.
with them.
Correct.
But to keep the contract in effect, this is what's in front of us.
Correct.
And the agreement defines the hourly rates that they charge.
Yes.
And does that get updated annually?
They have, their task order-based contracts have always included their rate schedules. And then the master agreement basically says the current rates that they have available at the time. They've never taken advantage of this situation.
Okay. Do I have a motion of
Move
approval?
to approve.
Director Cox makes a motion for approval with TTSA to CH2M Hill for
I'll second.
contractual engineering services. Director Tresson seconds it. Any further discussion here? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's go on to item 9, approval of DeMoore, Hamrick, and Schneider letters of engagement for annual financial audit for 2018-19. Rochelle?
Hello, gentlemen. This is just for the approval of our letters of engagement to approve our annual financial audit for the year 18-19. The fees again this year are the same as they were last year. And last year they did increase a small amount to adjust for the new gas fee 68 and 75 and all those changes that we have made to the OPEB. So staff recommends the approval of the audit, which we have already started, and they will be here next week for pre-audit.
Okay, they've already started this for next year.
No, for, not started the work, but
Okay.
they were scheduled pending the approval.
Correct. You know, I always bring it up every year.
Right.
I mean, is it worth a new, fresh set of eyes looking at this district as far as
I think
the
it-
same, you know, same audit people year after year? Do we take a look at bringing in a different audit and, you know, is familiarization worth that value? Or is it worth a new set of eyes looking at the financial interests of
I
the
agree with you.
district?
Actually, we had a financial managers meeting last week, and there are other districts who are switching from the same agency to another to get a fresh set of eyes. My recommendation last year, which I still hold to now, is to keep the same auditor until we finish with our transition of the software, so they can see if there's any differences or inconsistencies maybe that we don't notice. We might notice that the numbers are the same or the processing is easier, but we want to make sure that we catch everything once that transition is complete before we make any significant changes.
Okay.
But I would agree with you and recommend maybe we make that change in 2021.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve staff's recommendation.
Okay, Director Cox makes that recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Director Northrup seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. Okay, I oppose. Yeah, I just think it's consistent with what I put forth before. Let's go on to item 10, discussion on energy use and conservation and recovery.
This is an update regarding the SEED program for the solar panels. We've been in contact with SEED more so recently. What I wanted to do is provide an update to it, let the board of directors know of the direction we're going to proceed with. So as I reported last month, the city of South Lake Tahoe has taken on the role of the lead agency for the program. And the expectation is that they're going to issue an RFP out by around July. Through recent conversations, we've already scheduled the work to have them come out and look at our site. So on the 19th of this month, They plan on coming out and looking at our agency sites. I've already submitted to them documents showing potential sites. We've narrowed it down to an area more along the lines of where Tiger is at. We've also identified where our power connection point would be. Those are very preliminary data sets that we gave them. So they will be out on the 19th to do a site visit here. South Lake Tahoe is holding a workshop on the 20th, the following day. And they're going to give more explanation on the program and the dynamics of how the program is going to work. It is anticipated the RFP is going to be scheduled, is expected around end of July, early August. They're hoping to have a preferred vendor by October, having executed contracts by the end of the calendar year. It is moving quite quickly right now, so at this point we are going to just have them do the site visit, get some more information at the South Lake Tahoe Center city, and get some more information there. Richard Palante, I'll be on vacation during this time period, so Richard Palante, maintenance manager, will take the lead on it. He's very capable and knowledgeable about our electrical needs and what we need here. So at this point, just an update. We'll return next month, give a report on how the workshops went in South Lake Tahoe.
So what would be the services contained in the RFP, or the services requested?
We don't have that information. All I received was an email correspondence saying we have an RFP, I come up to site visit. The communication isn't as well as I'd like, so we're just waiting to go to the workshops, be able to meet with them there, get more information, have that conversation. I was contacted recently from someone from the town of Truckee who had the same questions, because they're inquisitive on this as well. So we will be working, sharing information, working with them as well, and proceeding with the program. So in summary, it's moving very fast. We don't really have that much information. The intent is to go attend the workshops. When they come to site visits, have all the questions for them, and then get some answers. Because right now they were kind of silent, and then all of a sudden we're back on radar, and now we're proceeding very fast. There's a lot of unknowns in there. There is concern that we are issuing an RFP. We don't know what the details are. We don't know exactly what the scope of the work is going to be. There's a lot of missing information. So the intent is we'll let the process proceed. We do have an MOU as we proceed through there, and if we get information that as we're updating and the board feels that's not the direction we want to go, we do have avenues that we can terminate that agreement with them.
Okay, Director Tresson?
So just the size of the system, I imagine in some facilities that they look at, the energy demand is much greater than the footprint that they can put because they're constrained by maybe roofs and trees and hills.
Right.
In our case, I mean, we've got a huge energy demand and a large area, I think, of really good solar panels. So the question's going to come up as to what is the magnitude of the system that we want to build, and are they proceeding with the assumption that we want to, how are they sizing the system, and do you need direction from us, or how is that, I mean, if they're moving forward with an RFP, is that a 10 megawatt plant to meet all of our energy demands or maximize the total footprint available, or is it, do we have a price point or a kilowatt hour kind of concept that we're shooting for? It seems like there needs to be some sort of direction there.
Correct.
And I don't know whether, that you're looking for board input on that, or you have concepts as to what you think an appropriate solar photovoltaic system would be, but, it could be anything under the sky at this point.
How's yours working?
Ours works great, but it's expensive. I mean, it's a fairly long payback period, and there's other issues, given the magnitude. I don't know, I think we're the second largest electrical consumer in the Truckee-Donner PUD's grid, and, if we, went whole hog and, maximized our footprint and put in a system large enough to meet our, $1 million a year electricity bill, therefore having a zero electricity bill, PUD's still got to be there as a backup for us. I've had conversations about this. That ends up PUD's got to collect that money elsewhere, and perhaps we end up saving money, but the community asked
Have
to
to have
pony up. And so
Yeah.
there's decisions, you know, that we should, impacts associated with what decision we make. And just the timeline seems pretty tight to have a good, you know, sort of discussion of those alternatives so that we can come up with an appropriately sized system if we want it. I just,
This is the timeline that they provided to us. I would recommend the agency proceed at our timeline. We've yet to receive any requests for our consumption. We've not nailed down an exact location. There's just a lot of details that are left out. And that's why, instead of going through the correspondence, the emails, we'd like to get them on site and start having these conversations. And when that time comes, we will be bringing back their proposed plan. The footprint, any degradation factors, what our cost per kilowatt is going to be, run times that we expect. At this point, I think they're starting back up, just getting everybody back together, and I'm hoping that this workshop is going to address all that.
What's
But
your,
we will be coming back to the board at these points to seek direction and approval.
Director Wilkins.
So Blake made a lot of good points. So there's a dozen different vendors circulating around California, if not more, that provide the same service that Seed does. The nuance that Seed does, they try to get multiple clients together, right? To
Economies of
then
scale.
maybe get some economy of scale out of it. A downside of that I can see is that if they're trying to get a half a dozen different agencies or clients together that are spread over a 100 square mile geographic area, you're going to be, number one, you're going to be blended in. You may not get the attention that you want to answer some of the questions Blake's bringing up. I think we've seen that initially with the SEED program, which kind of raises some questions with me as to whether this is the right, if we want to pursue solar, is this the right vendor to do it with? Because there's lots of vendors that we could do it with. These happen to be the ones that came and gave us a sales pitch first, right? Which isn't always the reason to select them as the vendor. So I'm not opposed to continuing to explore this, but I don't think we should be going into this with a mindset that this is the only game in town. And I think we should be open to saying, hey, you know, it's been good talking to you guys, but you're not the right fit for us. We want to go in a different direction. I'm not saying we need to do that. I'm saying
Option.
we shouldn't be
Right.
just so focused on this one particular vendor that we're compromising ultimately what we want.
I think it makes sense, and the information that you're gonna be getting out of this, at any point, we may decide, hey, this is not the direction we wanna go, but let's get that information. Then we'll have, enough info to make a determination in which direction we're gonna go. I don't think it's not a large cost to us, it's a cost in manpower. Go ahead.
Is the
Bill.
city of South Lake Tahoe moving forward with this?
From what I've been told, yes.
Okay, what would be the timeline for them to implement this whole situation? Are we talking about a year, 2 years?
For completion to
Yeah.
construction, I would assume this schedule maybe by the end of the following year. And
We
again,
might want to sit back and consider waiting to see how it works for the city of South Lake Tahoe with this particular vendor, Dan, and base our judgment on where we want to go or if we want to go with the information that they can, cough up.
we kind of discussed this last month, about possibly getting a consultant, and the conclusion was let's not abandon Seed right now. We'll follow them through the process. I mean, it's been 1 month, nothing's really happened. I do have concerns, but I think we should be able to have the opportunity to ask them the questions. I do think it's a very aggressive schedule. If I feel we're moving too fast and the agency is not getting the attention it's due, and the teamwork and the answers, I will come back with a recommendation saying now is the appropriate time that we start looking at other options, whether it be another consultant to assist us with that process or look at other vendors. I'm receiving a lot of questions. I have the exact same questions. I would just rather have them with them personally, instead of being dismissed through an email going, here are these big dates. We all know there's a lot of steps and details in between there. I can't make the determination of, they're telling us the information that they think we want to hear, or others want to hear. But again, there's a lot of unknown. I just really request that we just wait until the July meeting. We can provide an update, and then we get further direction from them.
Okay.
What's our biggest use of electricity here?
Individually,
Yeah, this building, or is it 50/50, 60/40, 20?
I think the majority of our power consumption comes from our equipment. They run
Okay.
24 hours.
Okay, so, Les, go ahead, Blake.
I think that at some point, we also need to rope in the Truckee Donner PUD, our electrical provider, and it's probably not too early to tell them that this process is going on, and make sure that they're part of the puzzle, because it obviously doesn't. We have to work with them on the intertie, and again, I've chatted with them because of our project, and I've been involved with the town, just trying to go 100% renewable. Concerns they have about, these projects, and so I think it'd be good for the board to
Get that feedback.
be aware of Truckee Donner PUD's concerns. So Lou, I would recommend that you reach out to TDPUD, let them know that, the seed project is moving forward. We don't know where it's going, but at least give them the heads up so that they're not behind the 8 ball when, we decide to move forward, and then we start finding out stuff that we wish we had known before we made that decision.
Can't we sell back to the, all these things about solar, they say you can sell it back to the electric company from your production?
Yeah.
For a home or whatever.
Yeah, there's laws that govern net metering,
Yeah.
and Truckee Donner PUD would be the ones that we would need to talk to about that. It'd be good for us to understand how that works, because that'll play into the economics of the project.
So at this point, we're gonna keep the process going.
Yeah.
Okay, wait and see what we have.
Yeah, and just my limited knowledge of this program and others that are similar to it, they're probably going to want to look at 2 scenarios. One scenario where they would come in and put in solar panels, hook it up to our, basically hook it up to our meter, and then we would just pay the upfront capital cost, and then over time pay less in our electric bill. The other model they have is where they cover the upfront capital cost, and then we effectively agree to pay them for the power that's being generated at a certain rate over a certain time period, so that they recover their investment that way.
You could have a PPA, or you
Right.
could have the sole ownership. And again, that's really a financial balance.
Correct.
So the questions, like I said, the questions you have are the same ones I have, and we'll be addressing them. And then we will keep this as a standing agenda item, and as we proceed, whether it be with SEED or another program.
Okay.
And that's a fast-moving field too, now.
Yeah, I think technology's come quite a bit since I first looked into them.
Okay. Any other comments with regard? Okay, let's go on to item 11, discussion on potentially changing date and time of the regular board of directors.
Actually, Lane, I do have one more comment
Okay.
on the last item. Because the agenda item
Yes.
is discussion on energy use, conservation, and recovery.
Right.
Which is broader than just
This,
solar.
then the seed.
I know there's a lot of agencies that are going through and getting audits done of their buildings to figure out opportunities for improved energy efficiency. I'm not sure if we've done one of those. Sometimes those are, good things because it can reduce operating costs. And the other one is, we actually, I think, generate methane gas, right? And I think we reuse some of it. I don't know when the last time was that we looked at whether there's, I think some of it we just burn off to dispose of it.
Right.
And I don't know if it's worth looking at that as an energy source that has other benefit to either us or the region. I don't know how significant, I don't really know anything about it other than it exists and that we burn it off from time to time, and whether it's worth looking at that as an asset.
That is one of the, I'll address the buildings. I believe we've gone through a process where we're looking at maybe replacing lights with LEDs, that sort of thing. We haven't had an audit, say, just for the building, like determining how much use there is because of meter locations and accounting on that. We can look at that a little further. As to the digesters, we did have a scheduled digester improvement overall project we had planned, but we're waiting the master plan, so they'll be assessing that and see if they make recommendations. Then they'll be looking at our usage, ambient temperatures, and how if we can do a mass balance regarding the reuse of the digester gas and that. So that is in the plans as well.
Okay.
Well, Lou, I think that the Truckee Donner PUD will do a, conservation audit for free. So
We'll look into that one.
it'd be great to look into that and see if they can come out here, and they might have to bring in some experts, because, I think the majority of our energy consumption is not lighting, but, the big equipment, the blowers, the pumps and stuff like that. I don't know that their staff would have the in-house expertise, but
I'll
if
be
they had a way of taking a look at that, that'd be great.
What about the energy consumption with in the master plan with Carrillo? Are they going to address that?
Yes, they're looking at not energy conservation, but the recovery, the items that Dan mentioned. But I wanted to mention on the energy efficiency that in 2001, I wasn't here, but I've seen that it's in the project folders, I can see evidence of that. We had, it was a plant-wide energy efficiency audit, where they went through and they looked at, the motors of the various equipment and the engines, and making sure that the efficiency was there. Now that was almost 20 years ago, so things could have changed. But just wanted to let people know that we had done that at one point.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the energy? Okay. Let's go on to item 11, discussion of potentially changing the date and time of regular board of directors meeting.
It was brought to my attention that there could be some interest in potentially changing the board of directors meetings from the second Tuesday to another day, such as the fourth Wednesday of the month. So I put this agenda item on here to have that discussion. Currently, I will just list out what the other member districts have their board meetings. TSD has it on the third Thursday of the month. TCPUD has it on the third Friday of the month. North Tahoe on the second Tuesday, Alpine second Friday, and Squaw Valley last Tuesday of the month. This is something changed to a later date would assist agency staff, but it's not critical to our processes. There are times where the shorter weeks and holidays may make it more difficult for staff, but we can easily accommodate that. Let's just put on there in case if the board of directors wanted to make that amendment to the schedule, we would draft up a ordinance or resolution accordingly.
It says here that they've only been on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
When was that?
We've been on, well, no, it's Wednesdays. We've been
I'm
on.
older, my Tuesdays and Wednesdays
Well,
are
that's-
blending
that's,
together.
We've been on Wednesdays
Wednesdays, yeah.
for the 27 years I've been here.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Doug.
And it.
You've been here that long?
Yeah, well, you're not that far behind, okay? But it's worked in the past. I don't think, unless there's a ongoing, a need for a
It's not
change.
so much a conflict. I'm the one that brought this up, and we have our meetings on the last Tuesday of the month, which for me, it's the TTSA board meeting is near the first of the month. The PSD at Squaw is at the last of the month, and the TTSA is the second, is in the middle of the month. And what happens is that it creates a conflict for me. With going paperless, thank you LaRue and Rochelle, is making this streamlined, because I did struggle a little bit attending the meetings when I was in Florida, getting a board packet and getting the information to me. But this is makes things a lot user-friendly for me, and I don't have any problems with keeping things the way they are. But physically, if our meetings were changed, I could attend both meetings. I attend Squaw Valley PSD meetings regardless. I commute it. But if TTSA meetings were close to the time of the PSD meetings, it's not an inconvenience to anybody else, I would physically be here. But going paperless, having the agenda, having the information, having the speakerphone and everything, I participate in, I feel like I'm fulfilling my commitment.
So from my perspective, going to later in the month would be fine. Keeping it earlier in the month would be fine. Wednesdays are actually a bad day for me. I've got the Wednesday morning time slot. I have a standing weekly work commitment that this overlaps with. So if we were going to move something around, what would help me out would be for it to be a day that's other than a Wednesday.
Yeah, for me, it works out great because we have our utility district meeting on the day before, and everything's fresh and going to the following day, you know, bringing back concerns from when I deliver a board report to the NTPUD directors, and then the next day coming right to here and getting answers is you know, expeditious for, you know, getting that information out. So it worked, I mean, the current system works for me very well. And it's back to back.
A Wednesday versus a Tuesday versus sounds like Tuesday is a conflict, but like a
Yeah.
Wednesday versus a Thursday.
Well, we can go, I mean, if you want to make it a Tuesday, I mean, we can make it a Tuesday morning, because the NTPD board meetings don't start till 3 o'clock, unless they change that, but I don't think there's been.
They haven't mentioned what time these meetings were gonna be also.
Yeah.
It didn't say here.
The other thing, I think it keeps, you know, keeps with the flow as far as people knowing when we meet, okay? As far as, that's a big thing, as far as they know we meet the second Wednesday of every month. And if the public has a interest, they know that that's the time they come. Now, when you change it, then you get, you know, upset the apple cart a little bit.
I have found in the 20 years that I've been
Yeah.
doing this that we have very little, I mean, very little public participation in our board meetings.
Until we
Now
have
that
an
we
issue.
have this camera and we have this video thing going on, if anybody is interested in knowing what goes on, they go onto the website and watch the meeting. So, what do you think, Blake?
I think, you know, personally, it'd be great if it was moved back 1 week, so I had both TSD and TTSAs on the same week.
There you
It's
go.
convenient, but more importantly, I think the you know, the moving it back into value it provides your accounting staff to get their month-end reports done and not having to rush, I think is a you know, a value. It's I know it's challenging to get all that stuff in the board packet, and so from that perspective alone, having moving the board meeting back, I'd be open to it. Again, moving it back, I thought I heard you say Wednesdays weren't great for you, Dan, but to put something in the third week, give you guys a little more time, and you know, personally, for TSD schedule, it puts it in the same week as ours, and
What's Rochelle have to say about this?
Does it make a difference?
I think it's the board's decision. I would not want to influence you either way, but a week delay would definitely help our accounting department in processing. For example, July 3rd falls on a Thursday, and so they're, you know, the second Wednesday of the month, that gives us 2 days to prepare a board packet, a holiday in there as well, and then come back Friday to deliver board packets complete. So we lose a lot of time, and it's often that it happens that way. But we can always work around it, whatever your decision is.
Well, my problem is our meetings at Alpine Springs are always on the second Friday of the month. Okay, if I have to come up here 2 trips, see, up now, once in a while, I do have to stay a week, but my specialist is down at University of California, Irvine, so I spend more time down there than up here, but we're still up here.
So this schedule works for you the way it's at?
Yeah, because once in a while I have to stay a week, because depending on when the month starts, Alpine Springs, say that the month starts on the 1st. The second Friday of the month is on the 8th. And then Alpine, or then DPSA, the second Wednesday of the month is like on the 15th. So I can stay a week for that, but didn't have to make 2 trips. I'd have to do the meetings by phone if they don't stay close to where they are now.
But if it was the third Tuesday, John, which would, so then it'd be a Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then TTSA on a Tuesday.
That would work, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm same with you as far as having it close together works, it currently works. You know, the way it is, do we want to change it mid-year, or do we want to take this discussion up and do it at the beginning of the year, so we have a fresh calendar? I know council, we have council up from the outside here. Current situation works now, you'd have to alter your schedule too, correct?
Correct. I mean, the fourth Wednesday would be fine, but I do have several monthly board meetings, so I could have conflicts depending on where you lie.
Okay, I'm the one that brought this up, President Lewis, and I just thought that it would be worthwhile to discuss this, to see how everybody else felt about it. Like I say, with me being paperless now, and having the ability to not put you through the hassle, Rochelle, that we went through a couple of different times, getting me a board package. I'm commuting it, and I'm good.
Okay.
It would be more convenient, but I'll compromise to do what's ever best with the rest of the directors.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take this up at the end of the year for next year? So if we do make a change, there's enough time to plan for it.
Fiscal year or calendar year?
Calendar year. Okay? Is that good?
Fine.
Okay.
When you say take it up,
Take it
or
up.
bring the matter back up at
take-
the end of the calendar year, or
Yeah,
talk
well,
about it
prior
now?
to the end of the calendar
so we'll
year,
have that
so
discussion.
like in November or December for the following year. Okay, so if we do make a change, there's enough time for everybody to adjust to it, okay? All right,
Okay.
so that's good. Okay, so let's go to item, we'll go to management team reports, department reports, Mike.
Good morning again, Board, President Lewis. Michael Meek, Operations Manager. The Operations Manager's report for May, all plant waste discharge requirements were met for the month. The Operations report cleaned and acid washed centrifuge feed tank and centrifuge tanks. Overall, the plant performed well through the month. The Laboratory report, staff performed necessary laboratory testing for WDR requirements and operational needs. Plant data, influent flow description, monthly average daily, 5.07 MGD, monthly maximum instantaneous, 7.59 MGD, and the maximum 7-day average was 6.47 MGD. You can see that the effluent limitation description for the averages for the month, suspended solids, 0.6, limit being 10. The daily max was a 0.8, limit being 20. Turbidity is a maximum of 1.2 with the limit being 10. Total phosphorus, 0.29, limit 0.8, that was the average for the month. Maximum was a 0.48, limit being a 1.50. Chemical oxygen demand, or COD, was 19.8 average. The limit is 45. And the daily maximum for that was a 26, limit being a 60. Are there any questions on the operations report for the month?
Yeah, on the flow data, we're slightly higher because of the, the wetter period that it's extended further into May. Do you see I&I, increasing, being a major contributor here on the flow data?
Again, it's dependent on the weather and the snowpack and how quick it melts off, but it definitely impacts. there are impacts of I&I as far as flow.
Okay,
But for treatment,
yeah,
it's,
dilution.
We don't
Okay.
have I at Squaw.
Geez, I've heard that before.
I know you have,
But
but we
that was
don't.
for, okay. As long as you keep your manholes on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Richard?
Morning, Mr. President and members of the board. Richard Palante, Maintenance Manager. So with the construction season coming on and snow melt, we can see we've started to respond to more dig alert requests along the TRI. We also participated in the 3-day plant equipment condition assessment as part of the master plan with Carollo. So we carved out time to do that and walk with the engineers. The work orders for May, you can see that we decreased. Looking at the numbers, that's mostly because of additional man hours or personnel hours on work orders. So there's an actual decrease in numbers completed. Preventative maintenance, seeing a tick coming down, again, coming out of winter and getting into the summer months and getting onto the more routine schedule. The overall open work orders by group, facilities have actually seen a downturn on their open work orders while mechanical and I&E are holding steady. As far as projects, with the successful installation of the first MSA chlorine leak detection system in the chlorine building, we liked it so much we bought another one and then replaced the other one in the inductor room, so that's all done and up and running. We had 6 staff members participate in the first responders drill with Truckee Fire, a very successful drill with them. We continue collecting data for Lucity and anticipate the start of importing data into the system in the near future, and then continue the budget prep with the end of the fiscal year coming.
Any questions of Richard? You know, Richard, one quick one. We discussed the roof issue and the PLCs being all covered up and stuff. Have we, did we get any damage seen from any of the water coming in on those PLCs or anything?
No, in the most recent, since I've been here,
Yeah.
prior to my arrival, there was some leaks that I think caused some initial damage with some connections, but since I've been here, and we did the interim project last summer to get us through the winter, those areas, one area was very successfully patched up over our server room. The one area that we're going to redo the whole roof on, while we did experience leaks, none of them made it to that critical equipment. They were very close, so we were able to respond and get it covered up and divert the leaks, get up there, mop the water off, and attempt to have the Centimark do some patchwork, as well as ourselves did some quick patchwork when they weren't quite as readily available to do a warranty request.
Okay, great, thank you. Director Tresson?
This is probably, I missed the opportunity with Mike up there, but have we moved the shift schedule around? I know there was discussion of that at one point, going to 12s, or there was some change in our operation shifts. I just wonder if that ever took place and how that's worked out.
it has not taken place at this
Okay.
time. We're still looking into the
Okay.
impacts and
All right.
going over that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, good. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks.
Okay, Jay?
Good morning again. So in the month of May, we worked on a number of projects. The plant concrete repair project, which will be starting in July 1, field work. Roof repair project, which we covered in the prior agenda item. Headworks improvements project, continued work on that. Admin building office remodel project, that is going to be getting started real soon here at the end of June. Digital scanning of sewer lines, we're getting prepared for getting contracts, getting that bid. Multi-use digester pump, that's the project this fall to clean the digesters. Master sewer plan, Richard mentioned that we had done a condition assessment with Carollo. That's a 3-day effort. That went really well. And then project planning meetings, Hotel Avery. We've been reviewing the 90% deliverable on that. And then what didn't make it to this list, because it's really for next month, is the Squaw. Squaw Valley is heating up, and we just participated in some CCTV work earlier this week. Any questions?
The scoping of the manholes that include the Squaw Valley Intertie, Is that going to be done, or is that done?
The CCTV was done, and the reports I heard back from Dave Hunt is that things look good.
Okay.
That was the pre-construction inspection.
Now, as far as that's pre-construction, after we do the intertie and get the lines tied into the TRI, are we gonna have an after?
Correct.
And then that'll all be part of the data that's gonna be here at TTSA and at SQUA?
Yeah, yes, it's going to be delivered to both agencies, and we have a pre and post to ensure that any damage that's done is repaired by the contractor, and hopefully no damage is done.
Any further questions?
And then TTSA is gonna kick in for that,
Oh, yeah, right.
We've done
We already discussed that, buddy. Okay.
just thought I'd ask.
Next up.
Just thought I'd ask.
Thank you.
Okay, for Bob's report, we have it here. Do you have any questions directed at staff here with regards to the IT report? Okay, Rochelle?
Welcome, gentlemen. For our accounting department, they've been working with all management staff to help prepare their budgets for the upcoming schedule. There's a lot of detail involved in that with our change chart of accounts from one system to another, so it takes a little more time and adjustment to do that, but Michelle and staff have been working diligently to give everybody they need to move forward with those budgets. And we have scheduled, in anticipation of the approval today of the audit, we have scheduled next week as our pre-audit, so they will be here 3 days next week for that pre-audit. Billing and customer service, bless you. We have continued to progress for the billing to the tax roll, and as you saw today, we have everything lined up to do that with the parcels that we included with that report. We are making adjustments daily to any accounts that have sold to new owners to make sure to pool those if those fees have been collected in full on their impound account. And then also any new accounts, new inspections, once they're finalized, those are also added to the list. So there are additions and subtractions going on a regular basis that we keep track of, so that in July when we send the final list, it will be accurate. And as you can see, there's an additional chart here for the permitting or connection fees for Ordinance 1/2019. We changed it up a little bit so that you can see what is different after the change of that ordinance has been implemented. So we had 15 new accounts or permits before the implementation of Ordinance 1/2019, and we were not tracking square footage at that time. It shows the dollar amount collected, so we added all that additional information so you can see the impacts to the agency for those changes. And if there's any additional information that you'd like to see moving forward in that area, please let me know and I'll be happy to address. Purchasing has been busy with all the new bids and everything going on. She's helping coordinate the administration of a lot of those documents, and also working with maintenance on a list of regular vendors or preferred vendors to stay on top of that. And general administration, as I had mentioned before, we finished the first phase of Cassell, and we did have a meeting with them just recently that we are going to start working on the setup phase, which should move pretty fast. And based on the work we've done so far and discussions we've had with Cassell, we should be in the new software by the beginning of the calendar year. So that would be great.
Right.
And other than that, do you have any questions?
Any questions, Director Tresson?
Thank you, Rochelle. I really appreciate the table provided. I'm wondering if, because historically the agency charged $5,000 per residential unit, if there could be an additional column there that just shows for the residential units, the average per residential unit. I think doing the math there, it looks like the home
Again,
sizes were over that, quite a bit over the 2,000 square foot
They were.
kind of median for that month alone, and therefore, the district was receiving substantially more than the $5,000 per unit. But it'd be interesting to see that tracked on perhaps a monthly or cumulative basis going forward to see if,
How we're doing financially.
how we're doing. I know that'd be interesting to
With our new rate structure.
Correct.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
idea.
That's a very
Sure.
good point.
I can definitely add that in there so we can have the month-to-date, what the average would have been for the old schedule, the new, and the difference.
Sure.
And then track it. I'll show you what the month is and then a year-to-date total as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good point.
Any other questions? Thanks, Rochelle. Okay, let's go on to general manager's report.
We have the same continuing projects. I just wanted to point out this past month I did sign some short-term lease agreements, which was afforded to me through a resolution specifically for the Truckee Running Festival. A new one which was with the Bike Monkey for the Truckee Jupiter Fondo. And I signed a change order for the admin remodel project. What's not shown on here are two things. One is the Ames meeting, which is our GIS software package. We've had approximately 50% workshop on it. The progression is going well. So we're hoping to have that summed up in the next, I think, 3 or 4 months. One of the other matters is our California CPI. Historically, the agency has adopted a CPI increase based off discussions with staff in the past. Last year, the California came out and said that data is about 7 weeks postponed. There's a delay of 7 weeks. So because of that, and we go from April to April, we weren't able to get that data for the June meeting, and likewise for this year. So we'll be coming back in July, hopefully with that data, with a salary schedule to implement that increase. And again, that's in line with the fact that until negotiations are commenced, we are to continue what has been historically done in the past.
Correct.
I
Okay,
just wonder whether you want to consider going forward, given that, and I've kind of tracked that also, that it's tough to budget. You're trying to create a budget based on a COLA for July 1, but you don't get the data till, almost July, whether you want to shift to, instead of using the May on May, to an earlier month on month, whether that's or an April on April, well, the April still isn't even out. Going to a February on February so your staff can know, just shifting it back to the prior one, so going into the budget cycle what it is. I mean, there'd be a one-time oddity as you kind of make that adjustment, but then going forward, everybody would know going into the budget development what
and
there is. So just something for you to consider.
Just so you know, to address that, we did go back, so we looked at the 10 months, because that's the data they have right now. And it's about a 1.9. So for budgeting purposes, we went with 2.5%, to be a little bit conservative on that. And then as negotiations commences, that would be a discussion point on whether we want to move that. But I agree, it would simplify the process.
okay. Any other
Other than that, nothing else.
Any questions? Okay, and with that, let's go, Board of Directors comments. Director Tresson.
I just, again, want to express appreciation from TSD staff to Rochelle and her staff on the assistance they've provided with the changeover to on the collection fees and the portal and the adjustments they've made. As well as I wanted to express thanks to Mike and the lab staff for some water quality sampling assistance we had this last month. So much appreciated.
Director Cox.
I want to put forth the invitation to anybody that wants to see an incredible project unfold at the entrance of Squaw. This boring project, it's going to be a very sophisticated endeavor, boring under the river. 2 15-inch,
Yeah, sounds right, 15 to 18.
15 to 18-inch lines are going to be bored about 600 feet from a staging area to the west of Highway 89. It's going to go under the highway. It's going to go under the Truckee River, and then it's going to surface between the Truckee River and our TRI, and then there's going to be a connection made. It's It's about a $1.7 million project for the little agency of Squaw Valley to be rebuilding the Truckee River siphon. But we're all staged. Don't laugh, Jay. We're all staged, and the boring company is going to be showing up next week, and probably by this time next month, they're going to be in the ground, and they're going to be executing their project. And I think it'd be worthwhile for, if anybody's interested, to stop by and see this kind of technology, because it's definitely state of the art.
Good. Thanks, Dale. Director Northup?
I'm good.
Dr. Wilkins? Just want to commend the full staff and the participation as far as getting the, I know we have a lot with the compensation study right now going on, and the classification, and working with the employees is a very important part right now, and I'd like to commend the staff in that, in working with that process, getting responses quickly back to the employees of their concerns, and then mitigating that and bringing that back to the board is important to us. And for the overall plant, somebody went through the plant that commented to me that this plant was one of the most exceptionally operated plants that they've seen. So everybody,
Who came through, Mike?
Was it?
Lots of people have come through.
It was it was one of Tyker's guys, Steve Shower's guys. Whether he was on a comment, that I had it back, but anyway, he was more than had a high appraisal for the work and everything that's being done at the plant currently. So, good job, guys. Keep it up. And with that, let's go into. We're going to go into closed session now. So.